Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Borderline Podcast with me, your host, Andrew Willox. And tonight, guys, I've got something a little bit different for you. Tonight, we're going out with the normal narrative of just focusing on mental health, and we're actually going to go into a subject that holds great interest to me personally, and that is the origins of our existence. And tonight, we welcome Dr. Simon Duan onto the Borderline Podcast. He's the founder and CEO of the Computation Lab, researching the post-materialistic paradigm that unifies consciousness, mind, and matter. And he's also developed the hypothesis known as the Platonic computation. Computation Labs is also developing new post-materialism technologies to help people transcend the matrix and to be able to manipulate and be in better control of a mundane reality. These technologies are being applied to the spiritual and personal development, innovative healing and healthcare practices, the metaverse, and of course, artificial intelligence. So Dr. Duan also has a long-standing interest in the paranormal research, as we're going to cover tonight, and he was actually the past vice president of the Chinese Parapsychologists Association. So he's coming from a guy of great knowledge and experience background too. We're not just going to talk about the simulation hypothesis, we're going to talk about that paranormal research too, and we're also going to talk a little bit on extrasensory perception and what all this does mean for your mental health. If you'd like to learn more about Simon Duan, then please check out all the information in the episode description below. And if you are watching on YouTube, it's at this point, I'd love it if you just hit that like button and maybe even subscribe to more future content. It helps YouTube identify this channel in an algorithmic fashion to push out more. That starts a snowball effect and helps more people get on top of their mental health. So, Dr. Simon Duan, thank you so much for coming on the Borderline Podcast this morning. How are you?
Yeah, I'm well. Yeah, this is morning in the UK. I'm based in London, and thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to share some ideas with you.
The pleasure's all mine. And like I said to you in the kind of pre-chat before we started recording, I'm really excited for this one, and we get to tap into a lot of my key interests out with mental health as well. So I'm really looking forward to this one. So just to start us off, would you be able to just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and obviously what you specialize in, please, Dr. Duan?
Thank you. Simon Duan. I came to the UK from China in 1980s. As a student, I did my formal education in Cambridge. I ended up with a PhD in material science from Cambridge University. And after that, I spent a couple of decades doing research and development, developing new materials and new processes making materials and find application for new materials. So that's my early career as a research scientist in material industry. So I'm supposed to be a materialist scientist. But then in early 2000, I came across some paranormal phenomena, which triggered my interest in looking beyond material. Yeah, beyond this physical reality. Yeah, because I'm always curious. So even in the childhood, my favorite book was a Chinese book called 10,000 Whys. Yeah, I always like to ask why. Why is this? Why is that? How this happens? So paranormal phenomena triggered my interest to ask more whys. Yeah, why those kind of things can happen. And because the materialist science cannot explain it, and I have to look into different perspective into this reality, expand my scope of exploration of reality. So as a material scientist, you really focus on only one subset of phenomena, which are materialistic physical phenomena, which you can reproduce, you can bring into the lab, you can study it systematically under controlled condition. But those kind of phenomena are only a subset of natural phenomena. Yeah, many other phenomena you can't study in this methodology, but they actually exist. Once you open yourself, you come across all sorts of things which are very interesting. So this triggered my interest to expand beyond the material and look into non-material and even into the transcendental realms. And so also forced me to study different philosophy. Yeah, I used to be a materialist scientist, so I used to be a materialist, and those kind of experience in paranormal research forced me to actually go beyond materialism. Yeah, to look into other philosophies, other worldviews, and then from that I develop my own kind of model of reality, which we can get into maybe later. I call it Platonic computation, which is really based on the simulation hypothesis. So that's my focus now. Actually, I'm doing theoretical research, building this model to develop this model further and to explain using this model to relook the reality, not only the physical reality, also the non-physical reality, and find the application of this model so that the society can be more harmonious and our health can have a positive impact, not only physical health as well as mental health. Yeah, we can be more relaxed, we can be more playful, we can enjoy more, we don't have to be stressed. So that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to develop this theory, explain all sorts of phenomena, and help people to adopt a different worldview so that they can have a happier life. So that's my focus at the moment. So this is basically a summary of my life.
No, that's perfect. Thank you very much. And like I say, we can come back to the simulation hypothesis and Platonic computing in just a bit. But why don't we go back to that paranormal experience that you encountered, which first, triggered your or accentuated your curiosity, I should say, because as a relate, I've always questioned everything, even from a child. I've always been fascinated and curious. Can you take us back to that, that first instance?
Yeah, in early 2000, I was traveling in China on business, and my wisdom tooth started to play up. It becomes very painful. And then I went to a dentist. I was told it's quite a complicated case. I need a general anesthetic to have a sort of this dig out. It's not an easy, simple operation, actually. And then a friend of mine said, "Oh, why don't you go to see this dentist? He's doing a fantastic job." Yeah, so I out of curiosity, I went to this dentist, and his dentistry, his clinic, on the wall is full of photos of celebrities, officials, and even the member of Chinese Communist Party Politburo went there to have their tooth taken out. This was encouraging to me. Yeah, I said, "Oh, yeah, he's doing a sort of he doesn't mean his business. So let me go ahead with this guy." What he did was very simple, actually. He just used a pair of tweezers to take it out effortlessly. Yeah, I felt a bit of discomfort, but nothing very painful. And then we went to lunch together. And so during lunch, I was really curious, asked, well, what happened? What the hell did you do to me? And he said, "I have a incantation." Yeah, it's a 5-syllable incantation. I don't know whether you're familiar with incantation. I later find it's like a spell, like a mantra. Yeah, and he said, "I use this to loosen my patient's teeth so I can take them out effortlessly." This really triggered my interest because I couldn't explain it in terms of material, in terms of physics. And I also stayed some time in his clinic observing he's treating other patients. Half of the patients went to see him is already have their sort of operation with the conventional dentist. Yeah, they end up with the roots of their teeth stuck in the gum. So they only have half the job done. The the rules is stuck in it. So with this dentist, he can actually using his mantra, using his incantation, so that those roots actually pop out. Yeah. It's
Magic, isn't
amazing.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing, but it's puzzling also. Since I got involved in paranormal research circle in China, and so I spend all my off-duty time visiting weird people, observing weird phenomena. Yeah, so I come across a range of things. We don't have time to go into detail, but it's a lot of ESP, yeah, remote viewing. It's quite routine. Yeah, also manifestation. They can just some of them can manifest things from thin air. Yeah, and they can change the taste of drinks, alcohol. They can turn object. They can turn plants. You can turn a red apple into green apple, green apple into a red apple. They can change the property of matter. They can teleport things. They can move object from one location to another. Yeah, we actually did experiment. We used the GPS tracker. Yeah, so we can actually track the object, psychic people moving using their psychic power. We can track the trees and all sorts of things. Initially, it's a fascination, and then it's bewilderment. Yeah, because it bothers me. As a scientist, I need to explain it. I need to understand how this can happen, why it's happened. It has been like a intellectual itch, so I need to scratch it somehow. So this is driving force for me to develop an alternative model to look at this kind of reality and to understand the world better, so that we have an alternative view of the reality. Yeah. Instead of a materialistic reality, which I have been mainly educated into. I find it becomes very restrictive, very frustrating, especially if you expand yourself into different phenomena in life. So that's my first encounter, and the success encounter. I have loads. I'm still saying things all the time. We have an annual gathering. We have a conference. The paranormal researchers come together in China to exchange our research. We always invite the psychic people to come to do some demonstrations, and it's really good fun. See what they can do. Of course, paranormal research is a subject in the West also. We call it parapsychology. Yeah. So many universities actually have this course they call it parapsychology. And we have a parapsychology association in the West, where we have an annual meeting also. In the past, this past August, I was attending this year's parapsychology convention in Merida, Mexico.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow, nice.
yeah. So we also have a gathering. I was presenting a paper also at this conference. So, yeah, this is what triggered me, and this is what might continue research into these fields.
Yeah, so like you say, try to understand a universe where this would be allowed to happen. To want to have a better word, can we'll go to a little bit of the simulation hypothesis just now, if that's okay. And could you just briefly explain, how the very first origin of the simulation hypothesis came about, and how obviously that's transgressed to what it is now, as to being quite a popular theory when we include the likes of Hollywood, The Matrix, that's influence. Could we just talk about simulation theory as its origin to where it is now, and then we can go into a little bit of Platonic computing after that?
Okay, I think it's actually quite natural occurrence natural process in our human civilization, because we have always been wondering what the reality is, and we want to sort of find regularities, try to understand what the rule set of this reality. That's part of our human curiosity as a species. Yeah. So what we do is we normally use familiar metaphors, try to understand things. Yeah. Yeah, metaphor is very useful, very important to understand things, and it's I think it's the main tool we use to understand things. Yeah, for example, if we want to understand elephant, assuming we are blind, yeah, we normally use metaphors like a pillar, like a wall, yeah, like a tube, yeah, like a rope. We use metaphors actually to understand what elephant is. So that's our sort of a comprehensive process of human curiosity. Similarly, we use metaphors to understand the reality. And those kind of metaphors also evolve throughout the history. In mechanical era, at that time, we have clocks and watches. Yeah. So we understand the reality as a clock-like machine. Newton's mechanics is basically a set of equations to describe the macro objects, yeah, how it's going to be moved into at the next time, next t. Yeah, you have a t and you have a delta t. What's going to be the position in the next t, the time? So it's like a clock. We model the universe as a clock-like machine. When human society was electrified, we had a new concept called electricity. So we use this new concept to model the micro-universe. So in our model, we have the nuclei, which is the positively charged. We have an electron, which is negatively electrically charged. So those two kind of electrically charged interact so that the atomic model can work. So we use electricity to model the reality at the micro level. Now we're in the information age. Yeah, we have new metaphors like computer information processing, big data, virtual reality, and now a very hot topic, artificial intelligence,
Yeah.
AI. So all those metaphors give us new inspirations to come up with new model of reality. The first person who actually suggested this idea is a German computer scientist. His name is Konrad Rose. He's a pioneer in computer engineering. He built the first programmable computer in 1940s in Germany. He was really pioneer. 1969, in one of the talks at MIT, he actually proposed, this universe may not be what the normal understanding is. The whole universe may be a processing output, a computer. Yeah. So that's in 1969. And nothing happens in the next decades or so because no one's interested what he's talking about. In 1990, another very famous physicist started to ponder the nature of reality in terms of information. Yeah, he proposed a very famous phrase now. It's called "it from bit." Yeah, everything physical has an origin as information. Yeah, and another computer scientist, Edward Fredkin, is an MIT computer scientist. He also proposed there should be another place he called other, which hosts the engine, which runs the physics. So those are the pioneers. But even in 1990s, their thoughts wasn't taken seriously by mainstream science, mainstream scientific community. Didn't really sort of pay much attention to this idea. However, the popular medium, popular culture has picked up ideas successfully. Yeah, typically movies and TV series and sci-fi novels. There's a lot of those kind of. Yeah, most of the famous is the Matrix. Yeah,
Yeah.
the movie Matrix actually popularized the idea to a very large audience. But also, there's loads of other novels trying to sort of describe this reality as a matrix, as a computer generated reality. So in 90s, 2000, it's mainly sort of popular culture talking about this. But more recently, we have scholars actually started to be interested in this topic. You're talking about serious philosophers like Nick Bostrom in Oxford University. We have many physicists, cosmologists, biologists, also technology leaders like Elon Musk. They all kind of started to ponder this question seriously. And but so far, I think mainly we are really just speculating. Yeah, it's not yet a scientific model. It's just speculating.
Yeah.
We argue, and we have different views. For me, if we want to progress from speculation into a scientific model, we need to answer a number of questions, such as if this reality is generated by computer, where is the computer? Yeah. And what is made of? Yeah. Where is it coming from? How is it built? What's the sort of property of this computer? Yeah. Of course, there's also a big question: who is the programmer? So, unless we understand, unless we sort of address those questions, it remains a speculation. It's not a theory. So, my work has been trying to address those questions. For example, first question: where is the computer? Yeah. Again, there's a different views. Nick Bostrom's view is that this computer actually exists in the future. Yeah. So it's our sort of offsprings in the future with advanced technology. They can make sort of reality equivalent simulation, and they want to sort of simulate their ancestors. We are the result of that simulation and as their ancestors. So he placed this computer in the sort of reality of the physical reality, but in the future. Yeah. Whereas I have a different approach. I place this computer in the transcendental realm. Yeah. It's not in the future. It's now, but it's in the transcendental realm. Yeah, it's not physical realm. Yeah, it's beyond the physical. I call it the Platonic computer because I use the philosophy of Plato. In Plato's philosophy, there is another level of reality which is not physical. He called it realm of forms. And this reality, this physical reality, is only a shadow or poor imitation of this realm of forms, where everything is more perfect, is more real, is more fundamental. Yeah. So this is the philosophy of Plato. And I borrow this philosophy sort of to put a computer into this realm of forms. Because according to his philosophy, everything physical has a corresponding archetype. Origin. It's like a blueprint in the realm of forms. Yeah. In this reality, for example, we have all kinds of dogs. We have poodles, we have Labradors, we have pugs, and in the realm of forms, we have a dogness, which is abstract dog, which is the archetype of all dogs. Yeah, that's why we can recognize dog, because in our subconsciousness, in our sort of other level of ourselves, we actually have this concept of dog. That's why we can recognize dog. Yeah. And even the child, they can recognize dog as soon as they see a dog. Yeah. Even they never seen this species of dog, they still know it's a dog. Yeah.
Yeah.
And because we have this realm of reality which we can access subconsciously, because we have another part also in the realm of forms. Yeah. That's why we are different from AI. Yeah. For AI, for a computer to recognize it's a dog, they have to compare with millions of photos of dogs to be able to determine this is a dog. Yeah, they need a lot of computing power to compare, to contrast. Whereas we don't need to compare contrast. We just know it's a dog. Yeah. Anyway, this is the archetype dog. Yeah. And also in this reality, physical reality, we have all sorts of apples. We have a green apple, red apple. We have a sour apple, sweet apple. And at the realm of forms, we have this archetype apple. We call it appleness. Similarly, in this reality, we have a computer made of silicon, a semiconductor made of a silicon chip. And in the realm of forms, we also have a computer, which is archetype of this physical computer, which is more real, it's more fundamental, it's more perfect, it's more powerful. Yeah, in my theory, in my model, it is this Platonic computer which renders this physical reality.
Yeah.
Whereas the physical computer renders the virtual reality. By manipulating the physical computer made of silicon to render virtual reality, we can simulate how this Platonic computer renders the physical reality. Now, this is the essence of my model.
Yeah, I'm with you. So you're essentially, your models, as you kind of say there, instead of asking the kind of blunt question is, are we living in a simulation? Your models encapsulating the question more of, would the universe support the simulation, and modeling it from there. So on that basis, what would the Platonic computer almost kind of look like? Would that be a 3D model? If we're talking about running up into different universes being parallels?
Yes, this is an abstract computer. It's actually beyond space and time. Space and time are the result of this computation. It's like we are making the 3D model with our physical computer. Yeah, the 3D model, like the game world, the game universe, which is a 3D model. Yeah, but the computer isn't in that game. It's outside the game. Yeah. So when you ask whether this computer is a 3D or not, it's a beyond dimension. It's abstract. Yeah. It's not within the space and time. It's outside. It's a bit of abstract, but it still operates on the same principle, on the binary. Computer is basically manipulating of the polarity, the two states. Yeah. In computer, computer is basically a bunch of switches on off. Yeah, when you put them together, you can do marvelous things. But fundamentally, they are basically a switch on-off switch. And whatever the operation is, it's a logical manipulation of this on-off switch. Whereas on-off switch is kind of logical operation. And logical operation does not have to be physical. We can think logically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Although we use physical computer to express this logic physically using a physical semiconductor switches. But fundamentally, logical operation does not have to be physical. As long as it's logical operation, we can do computation. And this Platonic computer is basically operate on a logical cooperation at abstract level. So also this computer can operate at a different clock speed. Yeah. At each clock speed, you generate a reality which has the different refresh rate. The clock frequency, the oscillation frequency of this clock generate the refresh rate of a reality which it renders. Yeah. And that refresh rate also determines the vibration frequency of this reality. So by operating this Platonic computer at a different clock speed, therefore we can generate different level of reality with different vibration frequency. It can be likened to a different radio and TV station. Each of them actually have their own vibration frequency. Yeah. So they broadcast those information with that frequency. And when we tune in the different TV station, we actually tune in different vibration frequency. So that therefore we can process that kind of information.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Similarly, in this reality, in this cosmos, we have this Platonic computer which operates at a different clock speed, generating different level of reality. And the physical reality is only one of these levels. Yeah, there are many other levels in the cosmos, which we can get into later. But this is the structure of the cosmos. We have this computer, abstract computer. We operate at different clock speed. We generate different frequency signals. We render different level reality. And in this physical reality, we render this data set with different physical properties, different rule sets.
Yeah.
For example, we give it some constants, like 9.8 meters per second square as the constant of this gravity. The gravity basically is a program. And this 9.8 meters per second square is a parameter in this program. And this is the rule set which we play in this physical universe. Whereas other level reality, we can have a different rule sets. It does not have to be physical. It does not have to be obey the law of physics. Yeah, we can be non-physical. We can define gravity. We can define the law of physics at other level of reality.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So am I right in sort of saying then if, the speed of the clock would alter the frequency, kind of going back into the paranormal phenomenon that we experience today, would it be right to assume then if I was at a certain frequency and then all of a sudden another parallel was at that same frequency, would that then allow me to see that other parallel? So
Yes.
in theory, if there was an apparition or if there was a UFO, is that essentially what you're saying, that when them frequencies are matched, that then allows us to see what we define as paranormal today?
Exactly. Yeah. So many levels of reality can just they have a default frequency, yeah, and which is different from our reality, this physical reality frequency. However, sometimes they can tune in our frequency temporarily. Then they become invisible to us. Then they just suddenly turn their frequency back to their default frequency, then they disappear. Yeah. So that's how I see what UFO is. They are not in this reality, but they sometimes tune in this reality. For some people, they can tune in their own frequency into different level of reality. So they can see UFO all the time, actually. They can see aliens all the time. Because UFO aliens, they are not from far distance, from millions of light years away. They are not. They are here already. They just broadcasting at a different
Yeah,
TV station.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are already here. It's not, they don't need to travel here. They are in the same space, but different vibration frequency. And sometimes tuning our frequency become visible for everyone. And some psychic people, they tune in different vibration frequency. They can see them all the time. Similarly, like apparition, one of the topics we study in parapsychology is actually apparition. I don't know whether you know apparition or not. Yeah. So they appear, they disappear.
Yeah.
Sometimes they make trouble. Sometimes they don't.
I think I've seen something kind of similar in my experience.
Yeah. They can appear and disappear. Nowadays, actually, a lot of them are captured in camera because digital camera are so cheap now. Yeah, they are everywhere. They are on the street and they are in the garden, everywhere. You can see on the internet a lot of people sharing this kind of information. So they appear and disappear. They go through walls, and they are strange. But I think those are the conditions where they tune away from that default frequency into this frequency, so that therefore the camera can capture them. Yeah,
that's fascinating, because one of my own inner kind of pre-chat before we started recording, I was saying I had my own kind of personal questions, and like I said, I'm a big believer in just about anything, and I like to believe that anything's possible. And I'm a massive Bigfoot or a Sasquatch enthusiast, which is quite rare in Britain. I don't know, a bipedal ape, the big kind of hairy man that you get spotted in America. And a lot of the sightings that people see with that are that they see it and then it just vanishes, as if it was never there to begin with. And then there's no credibility there, because they might get a photo and then they swear it was there. But that now makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, once you understand the mechanism, they become sort of a kind of normal. Yeah, because they do occur, and they become understandable. Normally, they don't do any harm to us. Yeah, because there's no. It's like two TV stations. They broadcast different programs. So they don't actually interact that much. Occasionally, they can.
Because that's usually a reaction, because we just can't explain it normally, can we? But then, like you say, if you look at these sort of theories and you open your mind up to the possibility of different realities being real, then you can explain it. And like you say, that's the hardest aspect that we have to paranormal phenomena, is explaining it.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So one of my endeavor is actually to explain paranormal, and using the Platonic computation, I'm able to understand all of those. Yeah. So I have developed this model for many years now, and so before developing this model, everything was fascinating. Everything paranormal was fascinating and confusing and bewilderment. And after I developing this model, it's still fascinating, but it becomes understandable, becomes more playful, becomes more fun. Yeah.
That's it. Like I said to you beforehand, assume nothing and question everything, because life's just so much more fun that way, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is, yeah. But as a scientist, I need to understand it with a model. Some people don't like to understand it. They want to keep it as a mystery. I can understand that also, because science actually sometimes destroy the sense of awe, sense of mystery, sense of magic, which can be disappointing. And when we look at the moon, for example, before science, before the telescope, the moon is so beautiful, so wonderful, so poetic, poem, poetic, and then scientists discovered it's just it's a cold rock.
It takes the fun out of everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of disappointing, but science. In my heart, I'm still a scientist. Yeah. Sorry about that.
No. I'd say that, like say you need a certain aspect of, like you say, credibility to be answering these questions with a model to base that. Um, Talking of your experiences of where that's led you, then, could we talk a little bit about ESP training and remote viewing and sort of instances like you talked about before with perhaps moving objects?
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
is anybody able to tap into different frequencies? Could you just explain a little bit about what that is and what that allows people to do?
Um, it's not correct to say that ESP training is in Chinese school. That's not quite correct. What is correct is that there are many training facilities.
Okay. Apologies.
It's not a part of the school. I mean, the formal education in China is still materialist, science-based.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they wouldn't train people. Yes,
Yeah.
they
Okay.
wouldn't even recognize it. And
Yeah.
the mainstream education system and mainstream medium still keep debunking this kind of thing. Yeah, they always have expert coming to the TV show and telling, "Oh, this is nonsense. This is not possible. This is not science. It cannot happen. It's a fraud." So they then explain, "Oh, what actually make you saying things, and with your eyes, with the photons, with the retina, with the brain processing, then you see things. Without this, you cannot see things." So this is the mainstream view, the doctrine, yeah. Whereas alongside this, many parents actually send their children to training, not really schools, but it's like a club, yeah. It's like
Yeah.
extracurricular activity, yeah. So where the parents find other children can do it, they send their children to do this kind of training. See, in China, there's a big number of those things.
Yeah.
There are some in the West also. If you look online, you will find them. But it's not as many as in China, I believe. In China, you're talking about at least 10,000 or 20,000,
Wow.
those kind of training facilities where kids can go there in vacation, in weekends, and get training. They can start with training, seeing things without
Yeah.
their physical eyes. They blindfold them, and they start with telling different color apart with blindfold, yeah, and they can sense with their actual sense, which actual sense perception. ESP is actual sense perception, by the way.
Yeah.
So they use their actual sense to see the different colors without using the physical eyes. Then they move into the reading. Then they can reading books without their physical eyes. They call it the third eye, the mind
Yeah.
eye, which actually can perceive everything, which is, again, science cannot really explain it. They cannot accept it. But truly, they have a third eye. They have a mind eye. They can see things which the physical eye cannot see. But they can also see physical things. They can use this mind eye also like a storage place. They can store information. They can read the book and they can basically photograph this page. So therefore, if you ask them to read backwards, they can read backwards for you. So it's not memory, it's actually a photograph. Yeah. They can photograph the whole book into their mind storage. Yeah. And yeah, they can just flip through the book, all the contents of the book, they can remember. It's already in their storage. So they can read back. If you ask them, yeah, can you tell me what's on the page 120? They can tell you.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a fascinating. They just flip through it. And then next stage, they don't even need to flip through it. They can just touch it. All the information is going downloaded. Downloaded. And of course, they can see remote things. Yeah, they can do remote viewing. Use their mind eye. They can see things, whatever distance. Yeah, they can hear voice from very far distance, and yeah, they can do all sorts of things. and they can then move objects. Yeah, they can move object out of the bottle without opening the cap of the bottle.
Okay.
Yeah, that becomes PK. That's called psychokinesis. Yeah, they have a physical interaction. ESP is mainly informational. Yeah, like a blind reading, like remote viewing, like telepathy. Those are all ESP, extrasensory perception. The next stage is PK, which is the psychokinesis, which is the physical interaction with physical objects, like moving things out and passing objects through a solid barrier, go through wall, and teleportation, manifestation, and all those kind of things. And next stage, the student can actually access a non-physical reality with a non-physical teacher in it.
Okay. Yeah.
So they can actually, if they want to learn physics, they can get Newton, for example, to teach them physics. Newton is a non-physical, but it's still alive. Still, they can still teach you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some kids learn piano. They can get Chopin to teach them, and they make real progress. It's just not imagination. They actually make progress. And some kids actually tell me they learned a lot from me, not my physical me, but my non-physical self. So, which is more clever, more wise, more knowledgeable. Yeah. From this kind of research investigation, I realize actually we are also multi-level beings. So the cosmos is multi-level reality. Yeah. Ourselves is also multi-level beings. We actually exist at all level reality without us knowing. We normally operate only at this level, physical level. We don't operate at other level reality, whereas the psychic people, they can operate at the multiple levels. The higher the level, the more powerful you can be. Yeah. So we actually, eventually, we are one. Everyone is eventually converging to one, which I call it meta consciousness. Different spiritual tradition can call it different name, but eventually we are that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when from that meta consciousness descending, we descend through this different level reality until we reach to this reality and become a physical being. Yeah. But this level isn't actually the lowest level, because we are building another level reality, which is virtual reality.
Yeah. So yeah,
We call it metaverse. Yeah, some people call it the metaverse. That's another level of universe we are building using our physical computer. So at level above this physical reality, our higher self also using the non-physical computer to building this reality.
Yeah.
And that reality actually also built by the level above. Yeah. But it is not the cut all the way, because every level actually converge into simplicity. Yeah. When we sort of go down, we make diversification. And when we go back to the source, we converge into simplicity. For example, at high level, we only have a dog. We don't have poodles and Labradors, pugs. We only have a dog. It's simple. Yeah. And whereas coming down here, we have different dogs and different sizes and different colors. We're diverse. Yeah. And when a dog can converge with other mammals into a mammal. Yeah. Mammal can converge into something called a sentient being, for example. Yeah. And which sometimes we call it God. Not the big G, small g, God. So we actually converge. But those gods are actually ourselves, higher self. It's not somebody else we need to worship. It's ourself. It's our higher self. So we exist at all levels of this cosmos. Eventually, we are that highest, pure consciousness, matter consciousness, which is all powerful, all knowing, all loving. Yeah, that's the reality. That's our true self.
Wow, that was so poignantly put and so informative as well, Simon. Thank you so much for putting it like that. I'd like to ask you just on your take before we finish up, just on mental health. And is there ways in which anybody can help interact with a frequency which then helps their mental well-being? Obviously, we've spoken about things that can help the physical
Mm.
self-beings. Is there anything that we could do in our lives today that would then turn into a kind of more positive mental health experience?
I think psychedelics is quite a hot topic, and people have a good experience with that in terms of improving their mental health. I think that's something maybe worth exploring. I'm not a doctor, so I know there's a lot of research went into this to explore the health benefit of psychedelics, because not everyone can meditate. I think meditation is very helpful. Children are very easy to open up because they just came up from a high level. Yeah. They are not yet trapped fully in this level. When we actually coming down from the higher level into this reality, it's like wearing a pair of a goggle getting into this level. It's like wearing a goggle getting to the virtual reality at a level below us. It's when we come from top down here, we're also wearing a pair of goggle. That pair of goggle is this physical eye. Yeah. So we're actually wearing this goggle to perceive this virtual reality. For children, this goggle hasn't been fixed properly. They may have leaks. Yeah, so they can still see other level of reality. So for them, it's quite easy. For adult, we already sort of fixed up this goggle permanently. It's like unmovable. Therefore, we cannot access. Sometimes psychedelics can help to loosen up this this goggle. Yeah. So when this loosened, we can have a glimpse of what other reality is. So maybe that will help. But I think more helpful for mental health is actually to understand this reality so that we don't take it that seriously. It's a game. Yeah. Where I experience the game, where I experience the hardship. That's important to understand. Because at other level of reality, sometimes we call it heaven. There's no suffering. They don't even have a concept of suffering. They don't have the program in that reality. They don't have a suffering. It's kind of boring. Yeah. There's no challenge. No. Yeah. You don't have much fun. When you play a computer game, you need a challenge to have a sense of achievements, sense of conquering, sense of power. If you don't have suffering, you don't have obstacles, you don't have chance to actually to experience different reality. Therefore, there's no need to be upset about obstacles, about setbacks, about hardships, about suffering. It's something we are here to experience, really, because at other levels, at heaven, we cannot experience this level of experience. Yeah, even as a child, we try to experience ignorance. Yeah, we sometimes we blindfold ourselves. We try to find things, trying to find our playmates, try to find things hiding. We can actually see with our eyes, but actually we prefer to blindfold ourselves. It becomes more challenging, we become handicapped, but we had fun. And we sometimes bump into things, we trip over, we hurt ourselves, we have even injury. but it is still part of the experience. So yeah, just don't need to be taken seriously. Ultimately, our true self is that that thing. Sometimes people call it G, big G.
Yeah.
We're all knowing, all powerful, all loving. We're just here to experience ignorance, experience the handicappedness. And there's nothing to be fear about. And this is only temporary anyway. It's a game. When the game is over, we may choose to play another game, or we want to have a rest. We don't play game anymore. We go back to the pure consciousness.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for putting it like that. The thing that I loved about that piece was, like I spoke about earlier, we've had a ton of content with mental health, but that summary of mental health and the way we interpret it, like I said to you before we started recording, I've went on this kind of what I call my spiritual journey over the last 18 months, and certainly what we've spoken about today has resonated with me with that, and perfectly like you put up there, I can totally relate to what you mean there. Is that don't take things too seriously. Open up your mind, and then once you understand everything and you understand your environment, then you can interpret it, that emotion within yourself so much truer to then seeking a result at the end of that. So, but thank you for putting it like that. That was really nicely eloquently put. Simon, I've ran out of time, I'm afraid. This has been one of the fastest hours that I've had in a long time. It's been an absolute fascinating talk with you. Thank you so much for giving me up a bit of your time this morning and coming on the Borderline podcast. Is there anything else that you'd like to say or leave any of the listeners with?
Yeah, I do have a website where you can find my YouTube channel, my Twitter X account. Yeah, I try to help people also by offering one-to-one consultancy. And some people, they're actually interested in how to get out of this matrix.
Mm-hmm.
And now I can help people to identify where they are in the matrix and to design a kind of bespoke personal route out of this matrix so they can discover their higher self and their true nature, and they can enjoy this life more. Yeah, so this is what I'm doing now.
No, that's brilliant, and let's say that ties in with mental health as well, though.
Yes.
Like you say, if you're helping people self improve their standard of life, then that's the capsule in everything, and that's so special that you found a unique way with your own approach to treat people and help people with their lives. That's that must be something really special to yourself.
I got a lot of sense of fulfillment from doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if we have you on again in the Borderline podcast in the future, then maybe we can talk again about exactly what that is and how you do help people and to potentially escape the matrix or identify exactly where they are in the matrix. Simon, once again, thank you so much for coming on the Borderline podcast this morning. I really have appreciated our chat, and I really have appreciated your insights, your knowledge, and you've completely blown me away. I've sat more of a guest to you speaking today than the reverse. So thank you again once more.
Thank you for having me, Andrew. Yeah, thank you.
It's been my pleasure. Again, guys, if there's any of the information and you'd like to learn more about Simon, all the information is going to be in the description below. Head across to YouTube and learn a little bit more about what they do across the Computation lab. Until then, guys, I really hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Borderline podcast. From Simon Duan and from Andrew Willox, your host, good night.
Thank you.